All right, good evening, everybody. The room looks very strange this evening. Yes. It's like no girls allowed over here. Got a couple of guys over here. Keep it simple. All right. No guys allowed. Is that the way it is? No guys allowed? All right. We'll just get pink chairs and blue chairs. All right, you should all have a summer calendar. I'm excited that this is finally finalized. Actually, you'll notice on the back, August, there are 2 dates that are to be determined. This is also going to be on the website for the church, cbcky.org. You go to the student section and you'll find this. And when those dates get filled in, you'll see that on there. Coming up in June, the first thing is, well, the first major thing is graduation Sunday, and we're having the breakfast in here. We decided what we're going to have in the menu. Right? Yes. Right? We're having pancakes, eggs, bacon, and donuts. So, yeah. And it's going to cost like $400. So, yeah, you're all expensive tastes. Yeah. So, I want to explain, especially to our seniors, by the way, Sydney is a senior, sad to say. Hello! Everybody be quiet, please. Quiet, quiet, shh. 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 Thank you. Seniors who graduate on the 5th promote on the 12th. And that's really for Sunday purposes. For Wednesday purposes, you're welcome to come all through the summer to any of the events that we have on here. But you don't like us, so we understand you won't. Okay, so I just want to make sure you knew that. College or high school seniors who graduate starting May 12th will go to the college ABF class, which meets in here at 12 o'clock on Sunday, so right after the church service. All right, so keep this on hand. You know what I would suggest doing is taking a picture of it on your phone, front and back, because you're going to lose this, and whenever you need it, you're not going to have it, even if it is in your room. In fact, why don't you go ahead and do that now? Go ahead and take your phone out and do that now, because you're like, oh wait, I'll do it when I get home, but you'll leave this here. So take a picture of it now, if you would. 2 pictures, front and back, and then you'll have it. I'm going to send this to your parents as well in an email if I have their contact information. So that's that. All right, I have one other announcement. This one I'm really excited about. And I have a clipboard here because it's a sign-up sheet. See? Isn't it lovely? I made this myself. Yeah, I didn't even need Katrina's help. So what is it? Well, my son Andrew came in from college this year and said, hey, I want to get involved in something, and what can I do? Because he's only in here on the weekends. And so he has Saturdays. And so I was brainstorming with him, and he wants to do something in the kind of the realm of service. And because that's just his heart for helping people. And so we came up with this idea, and we're excited to pitch it to you tonight. And I'm sorry he's not here to help me pitch it to you, but we're calling it Saturday Servants. And on different Saturdays throughout the summer, what we're going to do is those who sign up here are going to meet here at the church. We're going to gather our supplies, and we're going to go to the homes of our shut-ins and elderly people in our church, and we're going to do projects for them. They're going to call the church office once they find out about this so that they can let us know what kinds of things that they need done around their houses. Things like window washing, yard work, computer updating. Like a lot of old people have computers, they don't know what to do with them. Gutter cleaning on ranch houses only. And like garage organizing, dog walking, that kind of stuff. And so a lot of these people can't get out and do those things anymore and can't help themselves in those areas. And so what we want to do is go help them with that. The Bible tells us that we're supposed to look after older people. It talks about widows, and that is an exercise of true religion. And so we want to be the hands and feet of Jesus for the older people in our church. So if you would like to be on this list, there are some frequently asked questions you can read. Maybe the answers to some of your questions will be on here. If you have any other questions, let me know. We're just going to pass it around, just try to make sure it gets to everybody before the end of the evening. So if we could start it over on this side over here and have it work its way around. We're going to try to put together a couple of crews, so on Saturdays we can do that. It's not going to be every Saturday, probably like 4 or 5 Saturdays, depending on how much work we have to do and how many volunteers we get. So that'd be great if you would do that. All right, why don't you guys stand up with us? We're going to sing.
Brings the power.
All right, we sing this one over in the main building sometimes. It's one of my favorites. It's like, why don't we ever sing it over here? So let's go ahead and do it. Testing. Okay. Tonight, in our series we call Media May, we're going to talk about
well, first of all, I'm going to do just a bit of a review, and then I want to add some new content and some scripture passages that you've probably heard before, but I want you to think of them in the context of media use. And I think in doing so, you can learn. So to kind of get us started on this little review, I want to have a video play that'll help kind of set the stage for us.
That's watching TV, watching videos, listening to music, playing video games, reading, scrolling around the internet. So it's all of that, but it is 9 hours a day, and for teens, it's about 6.5 hours of their time on screens. So really what this report shows, Common Sense Media's founder says, it's like the digital transformation of childhood and adolescence is complete. They are now using screens and using media so much more than really maybe when we were kids.
I know for me, every morning I always watch TV. When I'm doing my homework that maybe I'm a little bored of the topic, I have to listen to music to get motivated to do it. So kids in my generation have to do stuff like that. I don't speak for myself. And I know that I play video games with my friends, and I do that, I think, more than I actually get some sleep sometimes.
I know. That I was saying in my piece, Mom's there, 9 hours a day, that's more than teens typically sleep. There is that one issue, though, of multitasking, right? So that you put up the stats that we're texting and we're listening to music, as you said, or on social media.
By the way, I'm guilty as well. Like, I'm watching a show on Netflix, I'm on my laptop, I got my phone with me.
I do it, too. Every time I'm writing a piece, I think, and I'm checking Facebook or Twitter, I'm wondering, why exactly is it taking me this long to get the piece done? You know what? We're just not as focused. Research shows multitasking doesn't work, and so that is a little bit of an issue with this digital.
Let me tell you about, though.
One thing that the report did find, when teens and tweens were asked their favorite media activity, only 10% of teens said social media. So the sense is that they're on it, they want to be on it, they might be addicted to it, but they would prefer watching TV or listening to music than being on social media, and that's kind of a good sign, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I got an Instagram because I said, Mom, all my friends have an Instagram. I want to have one too. Yeah. And it just grows on you after a while. I've never done drugs, but I can say that this social media is a little addictive.
Yes.
It feels like I have to do it. When I'm bored, I just automatically go to my app on my phone, scroll, like whatever, and it's just a talk of school.
So that was, I think, 2 years ago, that clip. And I don't know that there's too much benefit in trying to argue the little nitty-gritty of it, like whether it's 9 hours or 8 hours or whatever. Safe to say, it's a whole lot we consume of this stuff. And it's not just teenagers, it's adults too. It's the world we live in. And so what we have to do is come to terms with this great bombardment that we have all around us, all day, every day. And we have to pay attention to how it's affecting us. And we need to decide how we're going to respond to the world in which we live. Some people try... Catholics will, for Lent, some people will actually give up social media for Lent. It used to be, I'm going to give up chocolate or something else like that. People will give up social media or whatever. I am trying to think if I have ever heard of somebody doing a social media fast and getting to the end of it and saying they regretted it. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that. People that are on social media, a lot of them say, oh, I wish I wasn't, or I do feel bad about the amount of time I put on there. Now, the most popular app on anyone's phone today, or almost anybody's phone today, is what? Anyone know? TikTok? No. That's third. Subway Surfers? No. YouTube is the number one app on anyone's phone. Good job, Kate. Yep. Does he know that as an addict or as somebody who observes an addict? Yeah. And then second place is Instagram. And so we have a world in which, you can pick your drug of choice. And so that's just social media, though. And then we have streaming services. We have the news media, which is in print and video, and it's in radio as well. And then there's books and magazines and billboards and Sirius XM satellite radio, all this stuff. It's all around us. It's in the airwaves. It's constantly around us. And a lot of times we're engaging in multiple kinds of media at the same time. Like the one lady said, she can be surfing the web while watching Netflix and listening to music all at the same time. And there are a lot of researchers out there that are trying to figure out what effects that has had on people. And I talked to you also about this. I don't know if it was Sunday or here. I think it was the first of the series 2 Wednesdays ago, how there's been a sharp uptick in teen depression, anxiety, and suicide related to the timing of cell phones, smartphones particularly, getting into the hands of more than 50% of young people. And so, yes, there's danger. And so the thing with maturity is learning how to handle something that has potential benefits, but potential drawbacks, and handle it wisely. Like a lawnmower. It can be a very useful tool for cutting your grass. But if you're not mature enough to know what to do with it and use it properly, you could be heading to the hospital with missing toes and something like that. So it can be dangerous, and but it's also really, really useful. And the same thing can be said of our digital devices. And so I am, for one, not an advocate of getting rid of these things. I use them. I try to use them for good purposes. I don't always, I can be guilty of wasting some time on some things as well, just like a lot of people. But I use a grid through which I view social media and decide about certain questions related to it. And I keep using the word social media, but I mean just media in general. And so I want to show you, let's see if I can get these to come up here. I'm going to give you next week some little booklets that are called the 3D Guides to Using Media. And there's, as I said, 3 Ds. And the second of those Ds is to decide, right? The first D is to discover, then to decide, and then that's the third. Discover, discern, and decide. So if you can get that in your head, then you can get a framework or a grid through which you can filter social media so that it's like you can enjoy the good parts and spit out the bones. Okay? So we want to be smart with the way we deal with these things, and so that's our plan. But for tonight's purposes, what I'm actually going to skip this and come back to it next week because I want to get into the text of Scripture, and it's not seeming to work. Oh, wait, of course it's going to scroll like a million times now. So now where is it? And we're going to skip that too. Okay, here, let's look at some scriptures. I think the one, after this slide, I want the Ephesians 5:1 passage. It seems like all the slides are mixed up in order. So is that the next slide? Okay, so when I ask for it, can you? Okay, thank you. All right, Philippians 4:8 says this, finally, brothers, whatever is true, honorable, just, pure, lovely, commendable, excellent, anything worthy of praise, think on these things. I love the fact that it has the word think in there, because it's been said so many times that we all just kind of, know it by default. As you think, so you are. The ideas, the framework, the worldview that you possess will be the deciding factor in how you make your decisions, what you view as right and wrong, and a whole host of other things. And so what we think about is going to change our actions and our behaviors. And God knows this. He wired us this way. And our memories play a particularly important role in the way we think. We generally think based on a catalog of past experiences and information that we have collected, and that is what we use. That's kind of the material, the raw materials we use to reason and to decide what to do with our lives on any given moment. Right? When it comes to memory, though, we can't just pick and choose what we're going to remember. Our brains are wired to kind of spit back out things maybe at odd times. Things that you want to remember are things you forget. And things that you want to forget are things that you remember. What we wish we could have more control over our memories and the recall. But that's just not, there are certain things we can do, but a lot of it's involuntary. When you take in media, it goes into your brain, and depending on how much you think about it or whatever, and even subconsciously, things can get stored away in our memories, and then when we're deciding or doing things, it can spit it back out. When I was in high school, I had a couple of friends who swore all the time. And then I started listening to rap music with parental advisory lyrics. And then I'd go to work, and then the kids there in the pizza shop were all swearing all the time. Now, some of you who go to public schools are probably like, I live that every day. And so you know what I'm talking about when I say the more you hear stuff like that, you start to think it, whether or not you say it. And the more you think it, the more likely you are to say it. And so that it becomes ingrained even in your thought processes. And for some of you, you might think, well, I can't do anything about it because the people around me, that's all they do. And so that's not media, that's just relationships. And so there's a certain amount of that stuff that we just have to learn how to filter out. But when we're in our free time, when we have control over the media input that we have, if it's all filth that's just scrolling through our brains, uncritically filtered, it changes us. And it's slow. It's not all at once. Other people will probably notice it before we do. Our standards change. Our consciences change. Not usually for the better. where once we would feel shame watching one thing, now the line is moved. And now we can watch a whole bunch of other things without feeling any sense of shame or guilt at all. And then the line moves again, and before we know it, the line is moved so far that we basically have no standard for what we will and won't watch anymore. And that's kind of the thing that we have to watch out for. And so this Media May is about learning how, well, first of all, it's making a decision to do things God's way, because of the way He's wired us. And then in our text here, the Philippians 4 passage, it gives us a kind of a litmus test to decide, what should we be filling our minds with? Now, when you see Philippians, can we put Philippians 4:8 back up? When we see this verse, somebody might come to the conclusion, well, if it doesn't fit into that category, does that mean it's forbidden? That's a legitimate question, don't you think? Because not everything on Netflix is worthy of praise. Not everything on Netflix is commendable or pure or just or honorable or true. There's a lot of stuff out there that's not. Does that mean that we can't, to some degree, watch stuff that doesn't fit that category? Well, I have kind of a nuanced view of this, because I believe that there are redeemable things in some shows that have, say, mild language, for example. It's hard to find a show that doesn't have mild language. Like in a PG-13, most Marvel movies have some language in them. But where do we draw the line? And so you have to decide, is there redeemable stuff that would fit Philippians 4:8? And is that the majority of what is in there? And then there's these few little anomaly things that I can filter that out and like spit out those bones and enjoy the rest of it. But we have to be careful about that thinking, because it's a slippery slope. Because where are you going to draw the line? And so for some of you right now, your parents are drawing the lines for you. And I wouldn't begrudge that too much. But I would say that you, at some point along the line, are going to have the ability to make your own decisions on these things. And I want to encourage you to have convictions about where your lines will be and why, and be able to define them biblically. For example, run it through this script, Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 and following, all right? Think about media use in this context. Therefore, be imitators of God as beloved children, and walk in love as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us, a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. But sexual immorality and all impurity or covetousness must not even be named among you, as is proper among saints. Now, what does it mean that it might be named among us? Well, that anybody might be accused or guilty of participating in those acts or having those attitudes. But we have to ask ourselves, is viewing sex on TV or video or my phone participating in sexual immorality? Yes. Yes, it is. We read in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says that to look lustfully on a woman is to make somebody as guilty as if you've committed adultery. And so what goes into the mind and how we process that can be every bit as sinful as actually going forth and acting on it. All right? And so, sexualized media, can it be named among you in your bedroom or your privacy or wherever it is that you are? And it should not be. All right, verse 4. Let there be no filthiness or foolish talk or crude joking. Comedies on TV, YouTube, different places. A lot of those things are basically making sin funny. And do we laugh at that? Coarse or crude joking. That should not be named among us, which is, it's out of place. But instead, let there be thanksgiving. For you may be sure of this, that everyone who is sexually immoral or impure, who is covetous, that's an idolater, has no inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and God. Those are some pretty serious words. And so it says, let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of these things, the wrath of God comes upon the sons of disobedience. Therefore, do not become partners with them. For at one time you were darkness. I think it's very interesting that he says that we were darkness itself. There's no light there, right? But now you are light. So there's been a transformation there in the Lord. So when you become a believer in Christ, the old has become new. You become a child of God. And as Paul says in Corinthians, we become new creations. We are no longer darkness. We are now light. And light has different characteristics. Is what you watch, is what you consume in media more darkness than light? It says that we should walk as children of light. What does it mean to do that? Well, it says in verse 9, for the fruit of light is found in all that is good and right and true. And try to discern what is pleasing to the Lord. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. And so, when I think of this in relationship to media, I find instruction here to be discerning. To be discerning is to be more critical of media and less of a passive consumer. You guys, I wish it wasn't this way. But you can't just check out and plug in. Not as Christians. You just can't. Not even if you're watching The Chosen. Right? Because people who aren't perfect make those shows. And they take creative license. And in not every case do they take creative license in a way that's in keeping with the text. So we have to even have our radar up for what's true and light and good and right all the time. I was talking to somebody recently about a song, a Christian song, that they said, hey, you should do this song in CCS Chapel. And I had to have a conversation with them about that song because there's untruth in the song, and they just thought, oh, it's a Christian song, I like the beat, let's play it. They were very uncritical of the song, and they wanted us to do something that we would have been singing lives but they liked it. And so we have to be willing to put things through a grid. And I want to start talking to you about that grid next week with those 3 Ds. And what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of just lay them out for you, and then we're going to put some media up on the screens, and then we're going to practice doing that in small groups. We're going to learn how to discover what the message of the media piece is, because every piece of media has a message. Every song, every YouTube video, whatever it is, it has a message. What is it? And then we're going to discern how it relates to the Christian worldview, whether it's telling me lies or whether it's backing up the truth. Is it spreading darkness or light? And then the third D, we're going to discern. We're going to decide, okay, based on what I've discovered and discerned, I have to decide whether this is going to be something that I'm going to put into my mind. All right? So I think it's a great process, and I hope you'll come back, because I think it's going to be interesting. The pieces that I chose should get you thinking. You've probably seen a lot of them before, and but maybe you haven't actually looked at them critically from a Christian worldview and taken a look at it. I am not out to destroy media for you. That's not my goal. But I want you to be alert, because it's preaching at you, and if you're not careful to find out or to pick out the messages, you're just going to absorb them and become them, and you're going to think more like darkness than light. All right, we do have one more song we want to do before we close, so let's get back up here and do that. And I was thinking about how this song relates to our theme this evening, and there's possibly in here a need for confession. You may already know this evening that you've been watching things and consuming things and listening to things that really displeases God. And if God's convicting your heart on that, I'd love for you to forget about what I care about, what I would like. Get between you and God. And then we're going to take it to the cross, because confession really is about going to Jesus with all things that are wrong in our lives. Lord, I confess
Amen.